Now, WJC's Purple Playbook brought to you by M&T Bank.
And welcome to Purple Playbook. I'm Grace Grill in for Alex Glaze and joined by Super Bowl champion Qadry Ismail. Q, for the first time this season, the Ravens have a little bit of momentum after a big win in Miami. They pick up 2 wins in the past week on a short week. Just overall thoughts from last night.
Well, I think the Thursday night game that everyone was kind of looking at to see if it was a good measuring stick, meaning that clearly Miami coming off a big win against the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, you took care of business at home against the Chicago Bears, who they themselves came off a 4-game win streak heading into the game. And to be able to right the ship, things aren't perfect, but it was a strong statement game of, hey, look, we feel like we are headed in the right direction. Now let's see how the next 2 weeks look as they continue their road trip back to 500.
I mean, as far as Thursday night football games go, kind of a dud, but it's kind of the game you want when you're getting your quarterback back and, you know, you are working on a short week after that game. But I thought you saw him kind of maybe not get as settled in that first half, but he settled in real nice.
Yeah, he did. I guess the word dud would be, I guess, to maybe the larger viewers, but I think for the Ravens and the Ravens fans, what they were looking for was, well, you know Lamar Jackson's going to be back. Okay, great. We know that the offense is kind of stalled a little bit. Obviously, Tyler Huntley kind of revitalized it somewhat, put up 30 points against the Bears, but how's this offense going to look? But then you also look defensively. The defense, it seems like they've gotten better, but now again, through a offense that looks really explosive, can give teams fits if they don't have the right communication in place. I thought that Zach Orr and company, they did a remarkable job. The turnover battle from opportunity to create turnovers, give the Ravens a short field to work with, it went in their favor. So everything that we see bigger picture-wise, that was a good, strong game towards getting, like I said, back to 500.
Looking a lot more like the Ravens we thought we'd see at the start of the season. Well, 28-6 was the final from South Florida. Here is John Harbaugh after the game and what he says this means for his team going forward.
We had 2 games that we needed to win in 4 days, and they were absolute must-wins, both of those 2 games. And for our guys to step up the way they did and to step out the way they did and to play the kind of football they did with their backs to the wall on the canvas, all right, and to get back up and do what they did is commendable. And it just means we're 2 games under 500. That's all it means. But we're 2 games under 500, right? We were 4 games under 500. So that's where we're at. Now we'll get a couple extra days, and we'll get ready for Minnesota in Minnesota.
Q3-5 sounds a lot better than 1-5. But operating, you already touched on operating on a short week, but you hear John Harbaugh talk about this as trying to not make it bigger than it is. And it's like, okay, the mental aspect of trying to just play 1 game at a time. You hear them say that all the time. But how crucial is that mental game when you are trying to crawl back like they are?
I think the main thing for this team, it's about the process more than the result. I think for us as a fan base, yeah, we want the results to be, hey, you win, okay, let's keep on going, let's keep on getting all these wins. But to truly use a phrase that you hear from John Harbaugh so many times of stacking days, yeah. It's the process. The process, what is the process? Making sure that you're going into the meeting with an understanding of what the game plan is, going out to the practice field, working on that, but then also doing the extra work after practice for yourself, physically, mentally, and then when it comes to the game, go out there and let it loose. Let it loose as far as play by play. I think Roquan Smith, it was really cool because he was even saying, as he addressed the team, look, fellas, we recognize what is before us. Play with the enthusiasm of this being your last game, this last opportunity to go out there and play football. So I think with that comes the fun of the, hey, we got a short week. Hey, we have a big challenge ahead of us, but you get caught up in the process. You get caught up in the process, and then all of a sudden you look back on it, it's 28-6. Whoo, we got 2 games under our belt. We got the Bears. We got the Dolphins. Now we're going to have the Vikings. We're going to have the Browns. Can't necessarily look that far ahead as far as the Browns, but yes, who's next? What is the process for these next 2 weeks to get back to 500?
Well, that process is a lot more doable when you have your MVP quarterback back in the lineup. Lamar Jackson returning to the lineup as he also returned to his native South Florida, and he put on a show, throwing for 204 yards and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Here's number 8 after the game.
It's awesome. Like you said, I just wanted to get out there with my guys, texting the game, you know, but unfortunately I couldn't. But it's just great to be back, man. Like I said, get a dub.
Yeah, he got a dub. I mean, just a stellar performance from him. But you touched on it with what you were just saying. Like, he brings a different juice when he's out there, right? There's a different confidence. You can see it when he's out there. But the way the offense was rolling with him back, I mean, I'll start here. Everybody that was involved, you saw four different touchdown passes to tight ends, to receivers. It just felt more cohesive.
Well, I know that water is wet. So, therefore, Lamar Jackson, two-time MVP. He is the one that makes everything happen. And so goes Lamar, so goes this team. That's part of being the franchise quarterback. You're being paid what you're being paid and all that comes with it. So it wasn't a surprise to see that, yes, he's back. It wasn't a surprise to see that, yes, the offense functioned at a better rate than it did before. I think, if anything, what was a pleasant surprise was the capability of the defense. Again, you got to have your defense be able to create turnovers. And for Alohi Gilman to go when they were driving the ball, the Dolphins were driving the ball, to be able to knock the ball away and get the ball back and then allow that short field to work in your favor, that was really cool. I thought that bigger picture-wise, when you talk about Jordan Stout and his ability to punt the ball and pin the Dolphins back and use that to your advantage, that was really cool. So, yes, what Lamar does offensively, you know. But, man, when you see how it, yes, goes in through the defense and special teams and those three phases of the game, working on all cylinders, that's the awesomeness of it all.
We're going to get to the defense in just a little bit. What did you think of the O-line play last night?
So, from an offensive line standpoint, I probably would say they did okay. Still things that need to be worked on. I would like for them to, improve upon the fact that, yes, you ran the ball, you ran it effectively. Derrick Henry got his 100 yards, but there were some plays there you could see where they stalled out somewhat. And then even in a passing attack, I think that there were some plays that, yes, offensive line-wise, I would have liked to have seen better. But again, Lamar kind of erases some things. You just don't want that eraser button to be pressed all the time, because when you go up against those upper-tier defensive fronts, that's when you can run into trouble.
Well, we saw it with Lamar's absence, just how much he covers up a lot of the O-line issues. But great to see the offense rolling again. And it was also, like you said, Q, a huge game for that defense. We're going to hear from that side of the ball next on Purple Playbook.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. The winning prognosis, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. Care bravely.
Welcome back to Purple Playbook. Grace Grill, Qadry Ismail with you. We are talking about that defensive side of the ball because, man, Q, they were fun to watch last night. This is a defense that has relied a lot on rookie play so far this year, and it's been a challenge for them just kind of getting their feet wet. But let's hear from rookie Teddy Buchanan after last night's game.
I mean, with the type of guys that we have, I think, their play on the field speaks for itself, but, just the type of men and leaders that we have on the team, I'm not surprised at all coming in as a rookie, getting to learn from guys like Rowe, Kyle, Marlon, that's just to name a few. Just getting to learn from them and seeing what type of guys they are. I'm not surprised at all the way we fought these last two games, but we have a lot more work to do, and we'll continue to do that.
I mean, Q, this was such a struggle for the first couple weeks of the season. We had the top scoring offense, but the problem was that the defense also gave up the most points. I want to read this to you. 39 points, 5 forced turnovers, and 3 fourth down stops over the last 3 games. That's quite the turnaround for the first couple weeks.
It is. I think the biggest thing, it's the communication factor. When you look at this defense, it's predicated on everyone doing their job. And from that job comes the ability to know what your teammate is doing. And so therefore, there has to be that back and forth. And if you have that back and forth, you're going to play well in this defense. There's a lot of demand of everyone knowing each other's assignments within the functioning of this defense. You do it well, you will get results. I think for Teddy Buchanan, it's really cool that he mentioned some of those players. Those are the A-listers, if you will, for this Ravens defense. And so for him to be smart enough to glean information from them, understand what his role is and how he can improve upon it week to week, it's only going to make him better. I think that there's still a lot of room to grow bigger picture-wise when it comes to some of the nuances for him as a linebacker within this defense.
I want to get to some other stuff too, but just hearing the rookies talk, I've just been so impressed with them. I wasn't a rookie in the league. You were. You know what that's like, getting your feet wet, but also on a team that has big expectations. How impressed have you been just with their ability to rebound quickly, so it seems?
Well, I think anytime you're in a scenario where you're around great players, it forces you to step out of your comfort zone. So I think that for them, they've stepped out of their comfort zone. They put themselves in position of saying, what do I need to do to be better? What are those keys to helping me be better? Let me look to guys who've done it before me. In this case, a really good group of veteran players. So it's that delicate mixture that I think that has worked well for this young group. And again, there is a lot of football left to play. Let's not sit here and crown anyone. You're still 2 games under 500. You've played some top-tier teams, and you did not play well against them, hence your 1-5 record, hence the reason why you're trying to work uphill. But yes, reading the bigger picture as well, you look at the glass half full and saying, all right, cool, at least we're on the right track.
All right, let's get to the juice of the defense last night. How awesome is it to see Kyle Hamilton playing that close to the line?
I think it's something that is within his DNA. We've seen him be that Swiss Army knife multiple times in years past. That's why he's, an all-pro player. It's an extremely nuanced position because, he is covering guys, but he's also tasked with recognizing when do I want to go in for the run, when do I need to drop back, how am I reading the defense, and how I can be the strong X factor for our defense against the opposing team's offense. So just remarkable. I mean, I think that there is a lot there to be said for him and his talents.
I mean, just having Alohi Gilman come in too and be able to allow them to put Kyle so close up, but you talk about how communication is so key. I think that's been Alohi coming in has been huge to kind of free up Kyle, but also like you saw Malachi Starks kind of get going and play with a little bit more confidence last night. What does Alohi Gilman do not only for Kyle moving up closer, but for Malachi out there as well?
So within the Zach Orr defense, we saw it with Ardarius Washington when they went to him last year when the defense was floundering. They brought him in. You have that 3 safety look. We call it big nickel. I think with the big nickel look there, it gives you more room for having, Kyle go to the line of scrimmage. But from a blocking scheme aspect, if you're an offensive lineman, you're looking at D linemen and linebackers. Now you look at, okay, well, wait a minute, that's 14, that's a safety, so he's not quite my responsibility. He's the running back's responsibility. But is he my responsibility? He's the tight end responsibility. That little bit of confusion is what gives you the advantage. Now, again, when you have guys like Alohi Gilman, who now has come in, who now has put himself in position to, articulate what needs to be going on to a young guy like a Malachi Starks, to be on the same page with his fellow Domer and Kyle Hamilton, I think the 3 of them, they have that good synergy to work with, whether it be a tight end, whether it be the slot receiver, whether it be, you're going to have a dime scenario where you have an extra DB in the game, and now what does the field and the defense looks like, making sure we're covering all our bases. Alohi Gilman settles things down in the back end, and it allows for the aggressiveness for Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith, and the young buck in Buchanan to go out there and function in Zach Orr's defense a heck of a lot better than what we saw in the first portion of the season.
I mean, it was just fun. They're flying around. Last night felt like a get-right game where it just felt like everything was clicking in all 3 phases.
Yeah.
But Q, the most exciting part about this is that somehow, some way, the Ravens are still in the playoff picture with 9 games left to play this season. Let's take a look at the AFC North standings right here. The Ravens currently just 1.5 games back of the Steelers, who have a not-so-pleasant schedule ahead of them. I mean, this is kind of incredible to think of where the Ravens started, that they are still right here.
Well, the thing is that you knew when you came into the season that you were going to be facing division champions, the Texans. You're going to be facing the Bills. You're going to be facing the Lions. You're going to be facing the Chiefs. You had to play your best. But I also thought, on the back end of things, that you're also going to be facing a heavy lineup of your division opponents. Now you've gone through that first portion. That gauntlet looked formidable. You were 1-5, but I think you've learned from it. You've strung together some wins. But yes, these next 2 weeks is going to be pivotal. And one of those weeks just so happened to be Cleveland. It'll be great to sweep them, kind of put them in the rearview mirror, and then again move on and focus in on some tough games against the Steelers and the Bengals, and then playing the Steelers yet again. So that Bengals matchup, we can't look too far. Well, we can look too far ahead all we want, but the Ravens, they cannot. They're looking at the Vikings, but we as a fan base looking far ahead, we recognize that there is a lot of football left to be played. You cannot take them for granted, but I like our chances.
I like that they've seen it, right? Like stack the top part of your schedule with the tough games. I mean, their first, 5 out of 6 opponents were all teams that made the playoffs last year. So you like the road ahead for the Ravens. We like the road ahead here on this show. Coming up, we're going to take a little look around the league. We're going to play a little game called Something or Nothing with some top stories across the league. So keep it here. We got more Purple Playbook just ahead.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. The Bottom Line, brought to you by M&T Bank.
Welcome back to Purple Playbook. Grace Grill, Qadry Ismail. We're going to play a fun little game. I hope it's fun for you, called Something or Nothing. I'm going to throw out a topic, and you're going to tell me if it's something or nothing with maybe some thoughts. We know you. We love cue thoughts.
Good.
All right.
I like cue thoughts too.
All right.
Games.
Topic number 1. Devontae Walker inactive for the last 3 games. Something or nothing?
Ooh, boy, this is a tough one because I think it's something and nothing. Nothing in the sense that, yeah, your team has won 2 games in a row. But I think the something is the fact that you had him trending as far as what he's been able to produce with the catches and the touchdowns and all that. But I think it's something in the sense that, yeah, without him in there, then basically somebody else is picking up the role and getting the opportunity. So if I were him, it'd be something. I think generally speaking, it's nothing.
Generally speaking, nothing. Okay. All right, topic number 2. Something or nothing. Jonathan Taylor, MVP candidate.
Well, I would say if you are leading the league in rushing, if you are putting yourself in position to have a boatload of touchdowns, I think it was 12 rushing touchdowns. And then if you look at the bigger picture, your team is doing incredibly well with a 7-1. You got an owner in Qadry Ismail that she is like cooler than cool because homegirl's on the sideline like, all right, we're taking notes. I got the headphones on and I'm letting y'all know if you don't get things right, there's going to be issues. So with all that said, it would not surprise me that they continue to do what they do. Things are right. And when you got numbers, your team is winning, and you're in that running back spot, that's something.
Oh, wait, sidebar something or nothing off that. You mentioned Qadry Ismail. There was a lot of talk about her being on the sidelines. Do you think that's something or nothing? Do you like that? Do you think it's a little much?
No, I like it. I mean, the way she talked about it, I like it.
Yeah.
The way she talks about like, hey, I want to know what's going on and the why. Who is saying what? Because oftentimes you'll hear the absentee owner or you'll have the owner go to the general manager or coach and it's slanted in their favor. Never necessarily the bigger picture is addressed. So if she is addressing said things to the larger picture of what is the general manager, why is he saying what he's saying, what is the coaches, what are they saying and why are they saying it? But more importantly, if she's given an ear for the players and given them understanding, then that to me, go ahead, knock yourself out. Go ahead, put on the headphones.
I know. I kind of liked seeing it, the hands-on thing. All right, one more topic. Commanders, something or nothing. Is their season over?
Well, they got a tough schedule ahead of them. And I would say that we are looking at them being in a tight spot. Jaden Daniel with his hamstring issues. It seems that Mariota was trying to, right the ship until he got back. He looks like he's going to be back against the Seahawks. The Seahawks are formidable for what they like to do defensively. So I think one of those games I think it's the Dolphins. They go down to Madrid. That's going to be an interesting game. It's just going to be a rocky road for them. I think it's nothing in the grand scheme of things. The Commanders, they squeak in the playoffs, and they're one and done once they're in.
Not concerned, like McLaurin being in now their lineup as well?
Like I said, they're in by the skin of their chinny chin chin, and that's about it.
All right, well, we got to take another quick break, but we will be right back here to wrap up the show. Keep it here. More Purple Playbook on the other side.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. Now, WJZ's Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank.
Wrapping up Purple Playbook here with Super Bowl champion Qadry Ismail, and we got a huge slate of games here on our airwaves. Sunday, right here on WJZ, you got the Colts visiting the Steelers.
Let's go
That's
Colts.
the early game.
Come
And then
on,
at
Colts.
4:25, we have the Chiefs visiting the Buffalo Bills. You got to love these Sundays, Q. It's no stress for you, right?
Well, I will sit back and enjoy. I'll be stressing somewhat because you want to see some good football from the Colts and hopefully I don't know. I guess I'm indifferent with either team, the Bills or the Chiefs. I guess maybe the Bills I will root for. Who knows? But I think the main thing is the main thing. You got to take care of your division. So therefore, if the Colts can help take care of the said division by beating on the Steelers, let's go Colts.
I've always wondered, what's the spread at Q Sunday? For those of you
I'm not
watching, Q is our health nut.
Yeah, I'm not a big, go out there, hey, we're going to have all these dozen wings and all the things. Here, we're going to be, taping the show, doing our thing, and sit back and, just chill and watch some good football, and that's about it.
Any other games you're excited about this weekend?
No. Those are the ones that are kind of on my mind. I know that technically, the Jags and Raiders game, I kind of have a little affinity to see what that looks like. But outside of that, no, I'm just going to be chilling and watching some football.
All right, well, it's going to be a stress-free Sunday for Ravens fans. Enjoy your football Sunday. For Qadry Ismail, I'm Grace Grill. Thanks for watching Purple Playbook.